Good morning and welcome to the David and David on Real Estate podcast. And today we are in episode 102. We have David Greenspan in the house from MindShare101. David, welcome again to the show.
Guys, thank you. I am truly honored to be back here once again with you guys. Love tuning in. It is awesome. Lots of value. So congrats to you guys and keep up the awesome work.
Thank you. Well, the last time we spoke in our episode, we talked about finishing the year strong. You know, we're now into the fall season. We're hoping people take advantage of the fall market. We know the market will slow down a little bit like it always does in December, January, February, but there will be a spring market. But now sort of the time for everybody to start focusing on finishing the year off strong, but also how do you set goals? How do you set yourself up for success for 2024? And nobody can give us that feedback better than you can, David, with your experience and how you teach it, how you coach that to people. What can you tell us?
Well, I guess I'd ask you guys both a question right now and say, how do you eat an elephant?
Small pieces.
One bite at a time. Yeah. So you see, the problem with goals is that we typically look at them and say, you know, I want to do this. And I'll tell you now, first off, for anybody that's there going, the goal conversation again. Yes, the goal conversation again. Let me take you back about 10 years to me sitting in the audience, listening to a keynote speaker who talked about setting goals. And I sat there rolling my eyes and doing the exact same thing that most people do. And I said, yeah, hurry up. And then they said, write it down. I was like, yeah, hurry up. And then the following year, I went back to this event and I was listening to another keynote speaker who talked about setting goals. And they said, write it down. And I went, wow. They said, what do you want to earn? And I said, well, I want to make $1 bajillion. And they said, write it down. Yeah, I didn't write it down. And here we are a decade later. And I'm going to very admittedly and openly, I know it's going to blow everybody away. I do not have $1 bajillion. Now, if you sit back and chuckle and go, obviously, I never wrote it down. Never even knew how many zeros it had, but never had the nerve to write it down. At some point in my life, that all changed. And I said to myself, I'm going to start writing it down. And my wife convinced me to put together a vision board. She put the board together, but she gave me the opportunity to kind of help her, figure out what's going on there. And what happened was, because we started to recognize what we wanted in life and truly took it out of our minds, because it's really easy to say, I want the fancy car with the big house, and I want to be able to send my kids to university and, pay for it all. And I want to have a wing dedicated to me because I've donated so much money. And, you can name a list of things that most people in life go like, yeah, it'd be amazing if I could contribute that much. Well, you've got to write it down, because if you don't write it down, it's just a fleeting thought. And that's exactly what it is fleeting. It's not going to last, and it's never going to come to life. So fast forward, she goes ahead and she puts together this vision board. And on the vision board, there's a photo. And the photo is of me standing on a stage doing a keynote talk. There's what looks like thousands of people in front of me. There's a big screen on my right and a big screen on my left and a big screen above me. And one of them has my logo and two of them have my face on it. And that's the picture. And it's on the vision board. I don't remember how many years ago that was, but I think about a year later, we're sitting in an airport. We're waiting for a plane, and I just finished doing a keynote talk. And we're looking through the camera roll, and all of a sudden her jaw hits the floor. And I'm like, what's wrong? Did we miss our flight? She's like, no. I'm like, well, what's going on? She goes, look at this. And she turns her phone, and she shows me the picture that she took at that event only hours ago from the back of the room. Any idea what that picture looked like?
It's probably of you sitting under an apple tree having an apple pie.
Pretty close, Dave. Pretty close. Standing on a stage with what looked like thousands of people in front of me, screens to my left and my right, screen above me. It was almost a splitting image of what she had put on the vision board probably about a year to 2 years ago.
Amazing.
Now, every morning, I wake up and I look at that vision board. While I'm sleeping, that vision board is staring at me. Something's going on there where I continue to see what that stuff is. But again, there's the elephant. It's too big of an endeavor. Mount Everest is too big to climb in a day. So how do we tackle that? Well, now I go down to what are the micro things I need to do to be able to make these things come to life? Everybody stay with me because we're talking about your goals right now. Your first step is write down the things you want in life. If it's the bigger car, the bigger house, the cottage property, if it's paying for the kids to go to university, if it's being in better health, if it's taking care of an aging family member, if it's donating and sponsoring and helping other people, whatever it is, write it down. Let me remind you that supposedly, and I say supposedly with big quotes, man has stood on the moon. And let's also say that NASA laughed at Elon Musk when Elon said he was going to land rockets back on platforms in the water. And now he's the one laughing. Okay, so I still can't figure out how the three of us are doing this right now. What, through air? We can see each other and hear each other? But it's possible. So please, as you're writing down your goals, don't think anything is impossible. Write it down. Then what you do is once you've written it down, you got to quantify it. Well, how much of that do I want? Then you got to get realistic and say, what kind of time frame can I achieve that in? Is it realistic that I'm going to achieve all of that this year? And if your thought is like, well, no, that's a lot to do this year. Perfect. How many years do you want it in? I want it in 5 years. Great. Take that number, divide by 5. Now we're chopping up the elephant. Because now I know that all I have to do is this much this year in order to help me get to where I want to be over here in, say, 5 years. Just got to do this. Well, here's the thing, though, and this is why most people, and you hear me reference this a lot, because most people do nothing, right? And this is why, like, my big message to everybody is don't be most people. But most people will maybe outline their goals in December because, like, their buddies are doing it. It's just cool to do. You know, this is what we talk about on social media. Come January, they fall off. Mind you, come February 16th, they fall off. Why? Man, that elephant looks huge. I don't think I could eat that. Then they stop focusing on it. Well, if we're constantly looking at the size of this thing, of course it's going to be impossible to eat. Well, I've just shown you how to take the big lifetime and break down to an annual. But let's take that further because Jan 1 to December 31 is a big long time. Now take your annual, divide it by 12. Get a picture for what you need to do in a year, in a month. Day 1 to day 30 is a long time because a day can seem like forever. So let's break down the month to a week, divide by 4. Now I know what I got to do each week. Well, let's take the week and break it down to a day. Now I know what I need to do today. Then let's take the day and break it down to the hour. And hour by hour, I know where my focus is. So when we go back to the big picture and I say to you, well, I want to be in better shape. Well, great. How are you going to do that? Well, I'm going to work out. Great. Work out is the goal. Quantify that. How many times? I want to work out 5 times a week. Excellent. We now have a number. Multiply that by 52. What are we, 266 or something like that? I know that that's how many times I want to work out. Perfect. What does that break down to? Monthly, weekly, daily. Well, I got to do 5 workouts a week. Excellent. So I got 2 days that I'm actually allowed to slack. All right. Which are my days that I'm going to schedule in to do my workout? Which time of those days am I going to schedule in to do the workout? How long is it going to take me to get there? Realistic time. How long is it going to take me to do the workout? How long is it take me to get back? And then, as you guys know, I love my hockey. I love my sports. I want to score goals. I'm actually going to mark it down. So I did my 1 today, 1. And in fact, I'll tell you guys right now, my goal monthly, and I know it sounds crazy because it just breaks down to a decimal when you do the division, 21.65 workouts a month. Now, the reality is if I hit 21 or I hit 22, I'm rocking. So every day I just tally it. And now I'm at 2. And then I'm at 3. And as of this month, I am at 3. And shortly, I'm going to be going for another workout. And that's going to be 4. And slowly but surely, I'll start to hit my goals. So now we take that with working out. We take that with maybe eating. We take that with making our phone calls and doing our social media and doing our prospecting and building relationships. We take that with family time and vacation time and date night, reading books. What do you want in life? Where do you want to be? So figure out, what does the lifetime look like? Write it down. Goal. Then quantify that. How much of it do I want? Then give us a time frame of when do you want it? That's going to show you what realities are like. I had a coach, a client of mine, who told me, he wanted to buy this new car for him and a new car for his wife, and he wanted to build this other storage area and have this workshop and do all these things. We started attaching time to that. And he was like, oh my God, so I got to make like $17 million this year. I'm like, yeah, what do you think? He's like, maybe I'm a little bit lofty on that. But it gave us realities and how to adjust so that we're also not sitting there in a day, week, month, year and going, there's no way I'll ever get there. Because then what does that do? It just drains us, right? So we've got to have realistic expectations. And I'm very big on push the limits. Don't try to, tippy toe around this thing, like go for it. When you've got that thing of go for it, again, Elon, rockets landing on water, NASA, right? When you go that far with it, you will accomplish things that you never thought possible. And the final part to that might be, if you've got fear, and again, I didn't make this one up, but I love the line. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. And the minute you get over that fear, you realize you could do some amazing things in life. So yeah, looking at that goal, it might be scary. But I promise you this, if you don't push yourself, you will never get there.
I think that's probably the biggest fear people have in goal setting is you're not going to achieve it. And some of that is you're not setting, from what you're telling us, you're not setting realistic enough goals and realistic time for you want to set achievable goals and eat the small pieces and make sure you can accomplish it. Because if you set it too high and then don't achieve it, you look back in here and you say, I didn't do anything that I was hoping to do this year, and you think you're a failure. But you probably had a bunch of successes along the way. You didn't adjust, you didn't set realistic goals. You had no chance.
There's first of all, I believe in pushing the limit. They should be realistic, but they should also drive you, right? They should also set, and that's where I come back to Kevin Hart and I say, he's always pushing the goalpost out further, right? It's like, oh, I got there. I could do more. So I believe in that.
Right.
I really do. I believe that when people are, focused on those things that they want and they continue to put in the effort to get there, there's nothing that's impossible. Question for you guys. Do you guys know where my office is?
Can you hold that question for 1 second?
Yep.
I feel like we just got a whole keynote in like 11 minutes from you. It was absolutely fantastic.
Hey, we charge for that stuff, right?
Not on the David on Real Estate podcast. This is where you get, all the information up free of charge. But that doesn't mean you have to discount it, because this is worth gold, right? So I want to peel back a few more layers and really kind of dive into it. I agree with everything you said about goal setting. I love that you how do you eat an elephant in small chunks, right? So let's take our listeners on a journey one step closer.
Mm-hmm.
How do they do their planning? How much time do they spend on planning? When is the best time of the day? When is the best time of the week to get that planning going? This is something that I struggle with. Like, I do all my planning on Sundays, right? And I kind of plan my week. And then the night before, I try to plan my day on a micro scale. But how do people, for somebody that knows that they have to do this, they should be doing this, how do they start?
Love the question. First, I want to give you an analogy here that's going to tie right into that. Do you guys know where my office is?
In your house?
No. I've got an office at my house.
Young and 16.
Okay. Leslie and 16, but you never been there, right?
Leslie and 16.
Never been there, right?
Never been there.
Okay. And if I said, come on over, could you come over at some point?
Yeah.
But you've never been there. How are you going to get there?
I'm going to Google you.
But what are you Googling? Stay with me here.
Uh,
Your
company, MindShare.
The address.
And what are you going to find to get you there? What's that key piece of information?
The address.
Ah, okay. Now, the address. Now, Dave, you're probably coming from the West End, Gorski. Corman, you probably could do this with your eyes closed considering where you live. However, let's just go here and say you've never been there before. You now have the address. Let's call that the destination. Let's call that AKA the goal.
Oh.
All right. Never been there before. I've got the address. What am I doing next to get to the destination, AKA goal? What am I doing?
You're driving.
Where are you going? How do you know where you're going? What did you do with that address? Stay with me here.
Googled it.
Ah, okay. Maybe maps, Google Map, Waze, whatever, GPS. All right. So we took the destination and we plugged it into the GPS and we follow the GPS. And if the GPS said, Dave, turn left. If you went right, you probably wouldn't get there. Agreed? But if you follow the GPS and you follow the navigation, you're going to get to your destination, right? All right. So let's look at the destination as the goal. And let's look at the navigation as your calendar. Love what you said a moment ago, Gorski, about planning on Sunday for the week ahead and then checking every night before the next day. And I've got a thing that I live by called Monday starts on Sunday. Hell, what are we, Wednesday today? Thursday starts on Wednesday, right? Friday starts on Thursday. See, because that's preparation. That's planning. That's being ready. That's being able to put my best foot forward and not missing a beat. Now, that takes effort and discipline, a common theme to a lot of what we've been talking about on these shows, right? So now we say, again, I've got my goals. How do I put this in perspective? How do I actually bring this to life? Well, the big thing that I've got to do now is I've got to list out, what I want. When you ask about the perfect time, there is no perfect time because what works for me may not work for you. What works, though, is when I take that time and I block it in the calendar, because we all have only 24 hours a day and 168 hours in a week. And you're going to sleep for a whole bunch of that. You're going to eat. You're going to use the washroom. You're probably going to need to breathe for a minute. So let's carve out in the calendar which way we're going to turn and at what time. So at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., I am going to turn left, AKA I'm going to sit down. I'm going to write down my lifetime goals. So there's step one. Carve out a 30 to 60-minute window to write down your lifetime goals. And in fact, I like to do it on a Friday evening. Usually a little bit calmer, not really many sports going on, not really distractions. Kids go to bed, and I might sit down with my wife, and we'll just, sit down and write. Now we take time over the next number of days and weeks to actually bring that and update the vision board. So I suggest to everybody, you're starting somewhere mid-October, maybe even beginning of November, and you're starting to map out what January 2024, what 2024 looks like. You got 8 weeks, 10 weeks to be able to be ready. You got no opportunity for excuses. So you write down your lifetime goals. That might take you a few weeks to come up with. You then take those and quantify like we talked about, and now we map those out to what 2024 looks like. So I say you start mid-October to beginning of November to map out what that looks like, because you know what your destinations are. Now we just got to figure out the navigation. And the navigation, again, always comes back to the calendar. How are you going to chip away at that block? So if I take the annual and I've now got that, say by mid-November, I can then create the roadmap for what 2024 looks like. But the reality is I can really only get as far as, let's say, January right now, because I know what the goals are. I know what I got to quantify. Now I got to map out my time to go, how am I going to accomplish that in January? And as I do that, I'm going to learn because I'm going to have data. I'm going to be able to track. I'm going to be able to look at my schedule. I'm going to find my rhythm as to when I do and I don't do, where I slack, where I procrastinate, because we're all human, and where I really excel. And then I'm going to mold my days into that so that I'm accomplishing more. And then throughout the journey, I'm going to constantly reward myself. And I'm talking every single minute. As I finish this podcast, I go into my schedule, I mark it off, it's complete. That's almost like me tapping myself on the back, move on to the next thing. And then by the end of the day, I've gotten so much done, and I'm still nice and calm about it, because I know that everything I did, as much as I had to go, drove me closer to what I ultimately want in life.
Love it.
It's a loaded question, right? Like we teach full courses on mapping and how you actually bring what you want to life. And I don't know. I think I make it sound easy when I'm saying it like this, but I know for everybody, no, but seriously, I know for everybody else when it's like, well, like, but I got to roll up my sleeves and do this. We get a little bit of frazzled, a little bit scared. The fear, as we talked about before, sets in. And this is where, again, for us, we really like to hold people's hands and help them through that. And it's been so wicked to see the successes and the results that people have had and the changes they've made in life. I mean, that's just, again, a major driving force for what we do.
Well, I just set a new goal. I'm going to start every day, starting tomorrow, by watching and listening to the last 15 minutes of you speaking to motivate.
No, but seriously, think about this. Dave, think about this, okay? If I said, I'm going to look at my goals tonight, and I'm going to map out what my day looks like tomorrow. Well, I know I need to work out. Got to fit it in. I know I want to read my book. Got to fit it in. I know I got to do my coaching calls. I know I got to do this. I fit it in, and I just see the time that I have allowed for it.
Love it. Well, David, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't even say. I mean, we've got so much value. We got so many keynotes from you, and it's all on the David and David on Real Estate podcast. So thank you so much for joining us. It's truly been a great experience, and we hope to have you back again in the future. And for everybody listening, just before we close off, if you can just please tell us how people can get in touch with you, how they can participate in some of your coaching programs, and how they can be part of the MindShare 101.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that opportunity. Everybody go ahead and visit us at mindshare101.com. Check out all the information that's there. You'll find out a whole bunch more about what the company's up to, what I'm up to, see if we're a fit for each other. And please reach out if you've got any questions at all. Of course, if you're on Instagram, if you're not on Instagram, you should be on Instagram. But follow me at David Greenspan 101. Again, if you want to, check out some of the posts, much the same, DM me, set up something. You want to talk more about anything we do, reach out. We look forward to hearing from you. And gentlemen, once again, a major thank you for having me on the show today. It's an awesome podcast, and I wish you guys nothing but continued success moving forward. Can't wait to do it again.
Thanks, David. We might hold you to that, so be careful what you say.
Very good.
Thanks so much.
Look forward to it. Thanks, guys.